Hello, this is Rebecca for Tavola Studio. Let's talk about your Panasonic Bread Maker. With your Panasonic Bread Maker, you will have a manual that will guide you to use the bread maker while you're making breads. Now, with your bread maker, you can see there are a couple of lids and things to look at. So the smaller lids will in-house two compartments. One is for the yeast, the black hole is for the yeast, and the gray rectangular compartment is for your nuts and raisins. It's also removable. You can put your nuts, raisins, spices here, and it will dispense automatically at the right time. On the other big lid, when you open it, you will have the part where the bread pan goes. So the bread pan, which is made from a non-stick coating, will allow you to release the bread easily from your bread maker when you finish baking. And you also have two containers to measure and measuring spoons and blades. Now, you have got two types of blades. One of these blades looks like a fork, is precisely for making rye bread or using rye flour. 100% rye flour, you can make it in the bread maker while using this blade. The other blade is universally basically for most of everything you will do. So you will need bread and you will even make jam. It's perfect for kneading and also for mixing. You have also two types of spoons. This spoon has got, it's a two-in-one basically. It has got a teaspoon and a tablespoon. Also some little lines on it to indicate quarter spoon or three-quarter spoon. And this one is a sourdough spoon that will measure precisely 0.1 gram of yeast. So all these are the parts of your Panasonic Bread Maker. Now let's take a look at how to use the manual. So let's take a look at the manual. The Panasonic manual has got the recipes, how to use a bread maker, and a few advice on types of flour to use, for example. So let's take a look at it. On page 10 and 11, you will find all the menus that you can use on your Panasonic bread maker. So on the control panel, there is a little book here, and this little book says menu. If you click on it and you keep toggling, so keep clicking all the time, you will find the 33 menus available to use on the Panasonic Bread Maker. On page 10, the menus are precisely for baking breads. On page 11, they are for making dough and even jam and compote. Let's say I want to make a basic bread, so I will look at menu number 1 and I can select menu number 1 on my Panasonic Bread Maker to make a bread. A basic bread. For brioche, it tells me menu number 13, so then I will select menu number 13 for brioche. Now, the other thing is, what are the recipes? On page 29, in your manual, you will get all the recipes available to do, right? So if you want to make a brioche or you want to make a basic bread, you can take a look here on this side, where you can see all the colors, green, blue, orange. This is showing you all the types of basic breads, brioche, all types of bread that you can make, and the menu that you can use, and across are the recipes and the pages. Yeah, so menus and bread, recipes and the pages where to find them. Now, the last thing about your bread maker is looking at all the recipes and trying them out. And on page 37, 36 and 37, you can also find recipes for gluten-free bread. Making a bread in the Panasonic Bread Maker is very easy. First, kitchen scale to measure your ingredients properly, and then do not forget to put the blade inside of the bread pan. We are about to make a basic white loaf using menu number 1, so we'll be using this blade. It is simple to just lock the blade inside of the pan and then position your bread pan directly on that kitchen scale and switch it on. Okay, it should say 0, and then you can start making your recipes. I am making a basic white loaf, which is found on page 30, and I want to make an XL size. So for XL, I need 600 grams of flour. It will speak about strong white flour, so I want to give you some indication on how to buy flour. And you can buy most type of flours are really good to make bread, as long as it says all purpose. Also, it's perfect to be making bread with this. So measure until it says 600 gram. Now, if it has a little bit more, it's okay. You can adjust it by using a spoon and remove the excess. If it has a little bit less, just add on again. All right. The next ingredient I need is sugar. So I've got sugar and salt here, and I need 2 teaspoons of sugar. So straight away I will use a teaspoon now, and always level. So when I level, I use the sourdough spoon to level properly while measuring, and then you get a perfect teaspoon. There you go. I need 25 grams of butter. So now I need my kitchen scale. I need to click on tare, so it goes back to 0 again. Then I can measure exactly 25 grams of butter. Alright, so I have a little bit more. I will adjust the butter using the tablespoon again. So this is fine. You can always adjust, make it exactly precisely, or if it has a little bit more, like 5 grams more or 5 grams less, that's okay also. Yeah. If you're doing flour, for example, if it has 3 grams of flour, a little bit too much, then you can adjust it, or you can make it exactly precisely. If you do the measurement precisely as per the recipes, you will always have the best results. The next ingredient is salt. So for salt, I will use my teaspoon and measure 1.5 teaspoons of salt according to the XL size for white loaf. So again, level to get the exact measurement, and use the markings on the spoon that shows that you have to use half for 1.5. 400 ml of water is next. So now the trick for this is to not use the measuring cups, because sometimes we do not level properly. So what I recommend is to use your kitchen scale to measure 400 grams of water. So 400 ml is equal to 400 grams when you are baking. So I will tare my kitchen scale again. When it goes back to 0, I start pouring the water until it says 400 grams. So try to go slowly when you are about to get to 400, and ensure it is exactly 400 grams. There you go. Now when you're done with this, with measuring all your ingredients, leave the bread pan and put it in your bread maker. Just twist only once. One look, lift it up again. If it's not coming out, you know your bread pan is locked properly. The last thing to do is to put in the yeast. So you will open the little lid and use your spoon to measure the amount of yeast you need to put there. Now, one thing to do is to ensure that this teaspoon is clean before you measure yeast in it, because yeast is usually really sensitive to salt, water and oxygen, even high temperature. So clean the spoon properly before putting the yeast in. So let's measure our yeast. Ensure you clean the teaspoon properly before measuring the yeast. There you go. So I have 1 teaspoon in the yeast compartment, and then a 1/4 teaspoon. Right. Close your lid and then select your menu. Let's take a look at how to do that. Let's talk about timer. So to make, to adjust the timer on your bread maker, it's important you know which menu has a timer. And as you can see, the menu number 1 The basic menu number 1 is showing you the options you have to choose: size, crust, and timer. Menu number 2 doesn't come with a timer, and some of the menus comes or doesn't come with a timer. So we will practice how to use a timer by using menu number 1, right? So let's go to the bread maker, and on the control panel, after you having all your ingredients inside, press the menu, select all your options, your settings, that is your size, the crust, and before you press start, ensure you adjust the timer when you want your bread ready. Your bread is going to take 4, 6, 7 hours to be ready, but the timer is set on when you want your bread. So let's pretend it is 9 p.m. now and you want your bread at 6 a.m. in the morning, tomorrow morning, the next day. So from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. it's about 9 hours. It's exactly 9 hours. So I will adjust my timer to 9 hours by pressing on the arrow. If I press and hold, it will go a little bit more faster. There you go. And when I'm done adjusting the timer, I will press start. So the main focus is to remember when you want your bread and count how long is there until the bread is going to be ready. So at 6 a.m. sharp, the bread will be ready. It will beep and you need to remove the bread. After you press start, the bread maker, being fully automatic, will take care of everything. So you can relax and come back in 4 hours and 5 minutes to remove your bread from your bread maker. In the meantime, what's happening inside of your bread maker is quite fascinating. So in the yeast compartment, the black hole here, the yeast is going to be dispensed at the right time. If yeast is put together with ingredients in the bread pan, it will not give a perfect fermentation result because it can mix with the water or a salt or flour and oxygen at an early stage. So being in this compartment and being dispensed at the right time is quite similar to professional baking. Now, for professional bread making, inside of your bread pan, of your bread maker, what is happening is it's adjusting. When it says rest, it is adjusting the temperature inside of the bread maker to make perfect ambient temperature for fermentation. Your bread pan is equipped with 2 ridges on the side, as you can see. These ridges will make a sort of embossed notch that is going to replicate the hand of a baker while kneading. So this Panasonic bread maker was actually designed to give you the effective, the most amazing bread ever. So it is replicating bakers, a professional baker, how they will make their bread exactly. What type of flour to buy? When you are purchasing flour to make a bread, ensure that on the nutritional information on the sides of the packaging, for 100 grams of serving, it must have at least 11.8 grams of protein. So if the protein content is above 11, you will be able to make amazing bread with these flours. You can choose also whole wheat flour to make bread, and using the wholemeal or the whole wheat menu program on your bread maker. For example, if I'm making a white loaf, I can choose all purpose. The Panasonic manual will recommend strong white flour. Strong white flour means it has got more protein in it, sometimes above 12%. Now, to make the perfect bread, you only need 4 ingredients. One is wheat flour, water, salt, and yeast. Without any of these, you will not be able to make a good bread. Now, if you want to replace or remove sugar, you can always do that. You can replace sugar with honey or remove sugar completely. You don't need to add butter, but butter will enhance flavor. You can swap butter with olive oil or coconut oil, whichever you like. For sugar, you can replace with maple syrup also if you want to have this really nice nutty flavor and sweet flavor in your bread. Now, for yeast, always important to choose instant yeast. And when you finish using the instant yeast, always seal it properly and place it in the fridge. This is the only ingredient, apart from butter, that you have to keep in the fridge all the time. If you're buying yeast, it must say instant, rapid, quick, fast. This is a perfect yeast that will work in the compartment of your Panasonic Bread Maker. For breads that doesn't have gluten, if you would like to use a gluten-free bread, always ensure that your gluten-free packaging is saying bread on it. If you're buying gluten-free flour for making a gluten-free bread, the Panasonic Bread Maker can do this and will help you to do this. Ensure you buy the right one that says bread on it. Let's talk about making jam and using the nuts and raisin dispenser for your Panasonic Bread Maker. I recommend to use frozen berries. Frozen berries are frozen when they are ripe, so this will make beautiful taste. It's quite difficult to find really nice fresh ripe berries here in the UAE, so I do recommend frozen berries. Now, when you have frozen berries, defrost it and then measure it in your bread pan with the blade included. Add sugar. You can reduce the sugar if you want to, but I do recommend sugar. Sugar is going to help preserving your jam for a longer time, as long as a year, in the fridge. To make bread with seeds and or raisins, you can buy a mix of seeds. Like here I have a seed, berry and goji mix packet. So what I will do is I will remove my nuts and raisin dispenser. Using my kitchen scale, I will measure the amount that I need for my bread. So you can place the nut and raisin dispenser on the kitchen scale and switch it on. This will allow you to measure directly inside of in the nut and raisin dispenser. So your nuts and raisin can be poured directly into this and then lift and put back in your bread maker. Now the nut and raisin dispenser works with a couple of menu number 3, 4, 7 works with the nuts and raisin dispenser. So if you want to make a bread with raisins and nuts in it, ensure that you're choosing the right menu. For this, always select menu 3, 4, 7 and 16. To have more information on this, please take a look on your manual on page 14. Page 14 is going to give you all the information for which menu on this blue line here. Let's talk about removing and storing the bread. Now when your bread is ready, the bread maker is going to beep a few times. Always press stop to confirm the bread has ended. To remove the bread, ensure that you have mitts on your hands. Immediately remove the bread from the bread pan and the bread maker when it's baked. If you leave it inside, it will continue to heat up and then has a tendency to become hard. So immediately remove it from the bread maker when it's ready. Now, always slide the long side, always turn the longer side of the bread pan towards you and hold the bread pan on both sides. Try to clip your hand on top of the handle so it doesn't turn in front of you. So you would hold it this way and hold it with your thumb, with your clipping the handle in the back, and then shake it as if pushing it out of the bread pan, like this. Because of a non-stick coating, it will come out easily. Yeah, so the bread pan now can be cooled and soaked in a bit of water before cleaning and washing. Right, so your bread will be hot, so I recommend to leave it to cool down before you slice it. Cool it down at least 1 hour, but if you want to eat hot bread, you can do that. Give it 5 minutes at least to cool down before you slice it. If you're making a gluten-free bread, I recommend you slice it really after 1 hour of cooling down. Hot bread is really delicious to eat, but can be very difficult to slice. If you have a really good knife, a bread knife, ideally will be perfect. So I have this really bread knife here, and I'm going to slice this bread as it's still a bit hot. So there we go. Here's our bread that's been baked 100% in our Panasonic Bread Maker. And also you can use your fresh ingredients, any ingredients you want to buy, even gluten-free bread, all-purpose, strong white flour, organic flour. You know what's inside of your bread. The smell of fresh bread, the beautiful crust, that's perfect for breakfast, dinner and lunch. There we go. So I sliced it completely. And look at this fluffy and really nice bread. Now, how do you store this bread? It's important to leave it to cool down completely. Now, you may have already a bread bin at home. You can store it in there to prevent it from losing moisture. You can wrap it in some cling film. We are selling the Emile Henry bread bin, which is fantastic and perfect for storing your bread as it is. Most of the bread bin that are made from ceramic will store your bread, and you won't even need to have cling film wrapped around it. And you can store this bread for 3 days outside while you're eating it. After 3 days, slice all of it and freeze it and use it within 1 week. So